Hey you guys, welcome and welcome back to Our Awaken. So today we are having a more chill, laid back type of vibe. Before we start, I just want to ask, how are you? I hope you are doing well. And if you ask how am I, then I am also doing well. Thank you for asking. So for today's topic, I just wanted to have a conversation about just my realization of the importance of life's down moments. Because I feel like oftentimes we as people, we feel like life needs to be like up all the time. We want things to work out all the time. And granted, who doesn't want that? Because it's like, well, yeah, if I want something, then I want it easy. But I realize that like when you are constantly given everything and everything works out and you have nothing to work hard for, it's almost like you start to not see like the value and the privilege that you do have in a particular moment. The reality is, if life was easy and everything was just handed to us, I feel like life would just be boring, for the simple fact that there would be nothing to work for. You wouldn't feel like you're being challenged. You wouldn't feel like, like, okay, I have a goal to reach, so let me try to figure it out. You know when they say like you got to put a little stress on something, you got to put a little stress on people in order for them to really experience the value of what's being given. I feel like that really does apply to life, because if everything was just handed to us, if everything was just easy, if everything was just like, okay, as soon as you say you want something, you got it, you wouldn't really feel the value of having that thing because you didn't have to work for it. Because if we really take it back to like the old days where like before we had all these advancements in technology, people had to get really creative in order to obtain the things that they needed in that moment. So it's like they had to think outside the box. It's almost like a problem solution type of thing. Like you have a problem, all right, now you got to think of a solution. But in order for you to come up with a solution, you have to think. You're like under pressure, and it's not to, I'm not saying like being under pressure is what will make you feel the value of something, but I just feel like putting the action and putting the work behind the things that we want in this life just makes it a lot more meaningful, because within that time frame of trying to like, figure out the problem to your solution, pause. The solution to your problem, I am so sorry. I meant the solution to your problem. In order for you to figure out the solution to your problem, you have to really get creative and really think about like, okay, how do I want to go about this? What would be the most effective way? What would give me the outcome that I want? Personally, I'm the type of person where I get bored easily, but not because I can't commit to things, but I like a challenge. And this is just me observing myself as a person, but also observing people within society. So I know that I'm the type of person where I'm pretty good at things, but when I don't have a challenge in doing something, I don't really feel motivated in doing it, because in my mind it's like, well, I know I'm going to be able to achieve that said thing. And sometimes, there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you just want something to be easy. I don't know. I just feel like it's that humanly nature to appreciate the challenge. Like if I knew something was going to be really easy, I would skip that and go towards something that's a little more difficult, just because it is a bit more of a challenge for me. And it's not just me wanting to go towards challenges just to go towards challenges. When I really think deeply into it, it's the growth aspect of it, because challenges challenge you to grow. You get what I'm saying? So whether it's like, you gotta think about something differently, you gotta do something differently, regardless of what has to be done, it's like building a muscle basically. So I just recently finished a show called The Good Place on Netflix. It's actually a really funny show. So it's not really a spoiler, but just to kind of give you an idea of what like the show consists of. So it's The Good Place and then it's The Bad Place. In The Good Place, it's like everything was just perfect, it was like the perfect utopia basically. In The Bad Place, it was like hell. So things were intentionally going wrong in order to stress them out, but the goal was for them to become better people. It was for them to basically build their character development. And I noticed that with them having to become better people, they were starting to feel fulfilled within themselves because they had to work on themselves internally, which made life more meaningful for them because it's like, okay, they have something to look forward to, but then they also have something to look back on and just reflect on, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Within that process was growth, versus in the good place it was like the perfect utopia. So people got everything they wanted. If they thought about it, if they requested it, they got access to it. And when I say like anything they wanted, anything they wanted, if they said they wanted a unicorn that was eating ice cream, they was gonna get a unicorn eating ice cream. It's like in the beginning they were super fascinated and loved the idea of that instant gratification. They really enjoyed having everything at the tips of their fingers, but then after a while it's almost like they didn't see any value in it anymore. They started to feel like this is not a place that they want to be because everything was literally handed to them. And a perfect real life example of this is celebrities, rich people. Oftentimes, especially when I was younger, I used to always wonder, like, how do you have all this money yet you seem so miserable? You seem like unhappy. And the truth is, when you have money, you have access to resources. Money does not buy happiness, but it gives you access to resources. And when you have the resources, you can obtain anything that you want, just about, you know? Just imagine if you could wake up in the morning and say, like, you know, I want this, I want that, and then you easily have it. It's like, okay, like, now let me try to like spice things up. Now I want this, now I want that. Now when you get tired of that, then you're going to want to go on to something else. And this kind of goes into the whole idea, like when we hear about these celebrities and like they little freaky weird life, you know, I'm not kink shaming nobody, especially like the whole Diddy stuff. It's like, how y'all got all this money, y'all doing all of this stuff, yet y'all don't seem satisfied. So y'all have to go to extreme lengths in order to fill that craving, which is why you oftentimes see a lot of these celebrities doing drugs. They're into a lot of freaky stuff. You get what I'm saying? Let's say us regular folks, if we had access to it, well, in our minds, we're like, oh, if I had that, like, I'll be happy. But I also think it's a mindset thing. The people who didn't have anything, but they had to work their way up to get it, you know the work that you had to put in order to get to that spot versus it just being handed to you, you would have appreciated it more because you know, like, okay, I had to do XYZ in order to get to this point. So when I do get to this point, I'm not going to sabotage it. I'm not going to do something that will compromise or jeopardize my position at this point because of the work that I put into it. But also within that time period of you even getting to that point, you have to grow so much as a person. Like, your mindset has to change. Like, if everything was just handed to you all the time, if you didn't have to work for anything, if you desired something and you just got it automatically, how meaningful would life really be? And it's not to say that like you wouldn't be grateful for those things, but I noticed that when you put work and you put effort behind the things that you work towards in life, whether it's, you know, like yourself internally or whether it's something outside of yourself, like a goal, when you have to put work in towards that and the work that you put in towards that, it hits different. Like, you value it differently. You reflect back on all like just the down moments, all the times where you may have been doubting yourself, all the times where you may have been feeling like I can't do it, all the just obstacles that you may have had to overcome. When you really just sit down and think about like, wow, things were not looking good, but I still made it through. You get what I'm saying? Like, so it helps you have more gratitude in the moment when you are in your up position because you understand what it's like to be down. Like, you're able to identify a contrast between your low moment and your high moments. And I feel like it just helps you value your high moments even more. But I'm learning to value the low moments as I just grow in life, because the low moments are honestly when I'm growing the most. Because how I look at it is like the low moments are where I'm growing the most and the high moments are where I am enjoying the fruits of my labor. And in the past, the low moments used to be times of like being in like that victim mindset of feeling like, why is this happening? Or, like you kind of feel like, damn, like what's going on? And it's not to say that that feeling doesn't go away, but when you understand after going through things and working through things, it's like, okay, nothing is going to stay down forever as long as you are keeping your mind in a space of, okay, I know that this is not going to last forever. What can I do in order to get me out of this situation? Or what can I do in order to just improve things? And I feel like that helps. Like that specific mindset shift is such a game changer because perspective is truly everything. You can either look at a glass as half full or half empty. It's all perspective. And another key thing that I learned within the down moments are that your mindset will determine how productive you are in getting yourself out of those moments. And if you're operating from the space of like victim mindset and you're just feeling like sorry for yourself and you're just feeling like, the world is beating you down, which I'm not saying you can't feel those things. It's okay to acknowledge that feeling if that's what you're feeling. But when you're operating from that space, a lot of times it can cause you to hold yourself back. It can cause you to get into moments of self-sabotage because you're not really looking in a positive direction. Like you're not really thinking that your situation could change. So based off of the mindset that you're operating in will determine the actions that you are taking. So you might not be taking action. You might be focused on the negatives too much versus thinking about, okay, this is the current circumstance, but how can I better the situation? So when you operate from a space of acknowledging where you are, acknowledging how you feel in that moment, and understanding that you would rather be in a better situation, that will help you. First of all, like that's where like emotional intelligence comes in, and just emotional regulation is so important because those are the moments where you have to be able to like self-reflect to understand what it is that you're feeling, but also acknowledging what's real and what's not real. Because oftentimes when situations are bad, sometimes our minds make us see things worse than what it actually is. And it can cause you to have a skewed perspective of your situation, which will then lead to your emotions kind of being out of whack to where like you may be feeling anxious, you may be feeling sad, like you'll be feeling feelings that if you just sat down, slow down a little bit and just, like give yourself time to think, meditate, journal, allow yourself to feel the things that you're feeling, but like from a space of like reflection, it allows you to like properly then plan or think about how you need to go about the situation. So you're not operating from a space of like scarcity, or you're not operating from a space of desperation. You're allowing yourself the space to think and feel your way out of the situation, but you're also allowing yourself to hear God. And when I say hear God, I mean like allow yourself to sit and hear that inner voice, because that inner voice, the good voice, I don't know what voice people be having in their head, but I'm talking about that intuition that you have, that God voice that you have in your head. That is your intuition. So when you allow yourself to slow down and just really analyze the situation and think about it without overthinking as well, because sometimes overthinking can, like cause little issues. But when you allow yourself to just quiet your mind and really just feel what you're feeling without making any hasty decisions, you will find yourself making better decisions, which in return will allow you to better maneuver your situation without feeling that like super stressed anxiety feeling. Because when you're operating from that state of feeling really anxious, really just like all over the place and frantic, you are likely to not make the best decision because you're not making a balanced decision. And as a person who realized that I had some type of anxiety around 2020 and I had to work through that, I realized that like slowing the mind down allows you to really hear how to go about things. And there are so many cliches, just meditate, just sit down and just be quiet. And when people say that, it's not like just this magic thought is gonna just pop up into your head. It's not to say that it won't, but it's you slowing your mind down enough in order to get you to think effectively and to think from a clear space, but also to hear that voice. You get what I'm saying? And I just really learned to appreciate the down moments of my life because it has taught me so much patience. Like, it taught me that things happen when things are supposed to happen. Like, if something is not meant to happen, it will not happen in that moment. And there are times where when things didn't happen in the time frame that I wanted it to happen and it happened at a later time, when it did happen, I was grateful that I didn't receive it earlier than I did, because when I reflect back, I wasn't ready for it. You get what I'm saying? Like, I would not want something and then not be ready for it and then fumble it. And God knows when you are ready for something. I don't believe in coincidences, but I do believe in fairy tales. I also do believe that when something is for you, it will be for you. When something is not for you, it will not be for you. And when something is meant for you, but there is a delay, that is okay. Within that delay period, there is something that you still need to learn. There's something that you may still need to come into, a mindset that you may need to come into, like habits that you may need to come into, things that you may need to release. It's just a whole bunch of things, but I feel like that comes with self-reflection. That comes with understanding, like, what is it that you want, but also what are you willing to sacrifice in order to get those things. With everything in life, there will be sacrifices that need to be made. And honestly, like, I also noticed that, like, the things that need to be sacrificed tend to be things that are just dead weight. You can't carry everything, and you can't carry all of your old baggage with you into every new chapter of your life. Sometimes you want to hold on to things, and sometimes, you can hold on to some things, but sometimes some things just need to be let go in order for you to really fully walk into that chapter of your life. And so with me not getting things when I instantly want it, that has taught me so much patience, but it has also taught me where to fine tune myself, where to sharpen myself in order to, show up in the best version of myself when I do obtain the things that I want in this life. And again, the process is what makes the journey so much more fulfilling than the outcome, because it's me watching myself grow into that version of myself versus I say I want this, so I'm just gonna get it. Like, nah, me putting in the work towards obtaining that is the value in the whole process. Like, of course, again, the end goal is me living in the fruits of my labor and enjoying the things that I want. But in the moment of just me having to go through like the down periods, or, the moments where it may not look the best, the moments where I may be confused, the moments where I may not know what's going on, the moments where I'd be like, yo, like, God, what's going on? Those down moments will really have you ringing up God line, like, hello, like, do you not see what's going on? Like, are you coming? And it's like, just be easy, be patient, like, there's still so much more to gather in this season. There's so much more to work through. And it's not to say that you're not, worthy of whatever you're asking for, because we're all worthy of the things that we want. But we have to be real with ourselves about the version of ourselves that position requires in order for us to fill those shoes in the best way. We have to be real with ourselves about, if we were to obtain the things that we say we want, are we really ready for it? If God came down and gave you exactly what you asked for, are you ready for it? Are you going to handle it correctly? Are you in the mindset to keep it going? Are you in the mindset to nurture it? Are you going to be able to maintain yourself? Are you going to keep a humble mind? Are you going to be able to show up? It's so many different factors to consider, to where in the moments of you being patiently waiting for whatever you are waiting for, you have to be in a space of just gratitude. Even when things aren't the best, even when things aren't making sense, still being grateful for where you are, because again, enjoying the process. Anything that's down, the only way to go from down is up. That's the mindset that you need to have. Like, nothing is going to stay down forever, which is why it's so important to understand that if you are not in the space that you want to be in, your end goal, or even just a higher goal, because is there really ever an end goal? Like, you reach a certain point, then it's like, all right, like, I'm here, but like, what's next? So it's just, we want to keep reaching the highest version of ourselves, but we also have to do the work in order to obtain those things. And just thugging it out and showing up and being grateful for where you are, because how can you expect to be blessed with more and you're not grateful for what you already have? That's a blessing. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, there are people who don't have the things that you have. There are people who may be in a lesser situation and they will be grateful to be where you are. So it's like, you have to be grateful for everything that you have, because that also goes into, if you're not even grateful for the little that you have, if God gave you more, you're not going to be grateful for that, because you can't even be like, you're going to be grateful for it maybe for a short period of time, but it's like, do you really understand the weight that it holds? You get what I'm saying? Like, do you really understand, like, wow, this is something to value, not just because of the material thing or whatever it is, but it's just the process that it took for you to get it, because you had to mold yourself. You not mold yourself in a sense of like being something that you're not, but you had to really strengthen yourself. You had to strengthen your character. You had to work on your patience. You had to work on, like, it's just a lot of things. And also, just in your moments of like the down periods, it allows you so much opportunity for self-discovery and just learning more about yourself. Like, really taking that time to self-reflect. And it's not to say that you shouldn't be happy where you are, in the sense of, you should always love yourself regardless of the circumstance. I feel like we should all strive to a place where we accept ourselves and love ourselves at the moments that we are in the very present moment, because that is who we are. Loving ourselves for who we are, but also understanding that we want more. I think that's a good thing to want more, like, because at the end of the day, you should always be aiming to be a better version of yourself, like, and it's not to say like you need to be in this like hyper, oh my gosh, I need to like self-improve. Like, that's not what I'm saying, because I feel like when you're operating from that state, which I used to be in a state like that, I was not present in the moment to really acknowledge the growth that I've made, to where it, in return, me not being present did not help me. It's like, me not being present in the moment did not allow me to see myself for the growth that I've made. It didn't allow me to appreciate, because I was so far into the future and where I wanted to be, that I didn't really stop and smell the roses. So that's why it's so important, like, even in the down moments, because it's like, oftentimes we'll say we want something, and let's say like me right now versus say like 2 years ago, I may not be where I want to be at this very moment based off of my future goal. But the reality is, I have to acknowledge that me where I am now is not where I was 2 years ago. And me 2 years ago, if I were to know that I'm where I am now, I would be beyond grateful. So it's like when they say like, you're living in your answered prayer, but you're not in the mindset of being able to see that, which goes into the whole idea of you not being grateful for where you are, because you don't even appreciate where you are because you're so far into the future. Like, you have to appreciate where you are in order to carry that mindset of gratitude. Like, you're able to observe like the difference. You're able to acknowledge the work that you put in. You're able to acknowledge just, the challenges and just everything that you had to go through to get to where you are. And in return, you maintaining that mindset but also acknowledging the growth that you've made, it helps you to move forward in a way where, for one, like, I have built so much trust within myself, because with reflecting back on just the past and situations that I've gone through, in those moments I was like in the dark, like I didn't know what was going on. But now, in hindsight, I got through it. I may not have known what I was doing, okay, but God helped me get through it. And knowing that, it's like that mindset of, you know, when they say like, don't stress about things because things are going to work out, things are bound to work out, so why even stress about it? That's the mindset that I operate in now. Because when things aren't going good and then down the line when they end up working out, it used to really kill me a little inside, even though I was happy that I got through it. But it's like, damn, I put myself through all that stress for what? Just for it to work out? And it's like, I thought about like, okay, what would it have been like if I didn't stress myself out while I was going through the process? It's not to say like you're not gonna stress, because I'm not trying to be like unrealistic here, but I mean like putting unnecessary stress on yourself just for things to work out. Like, what would the experience have been had I not been as stressed? For one, I probably would have got through my problems a little quicker. I probably would have been able to come up with solutions quicker. And I would have enjoyed the ride a little more without feeling so anxious, without feeling so like, oh my gosh, are things gonna work out? Listen, what's meant for you is gonna be for you, okay? And that's one thing with me going through life, I have acknowledged. And ever since I have gotten into this space of thinking this way of, I'm not going to put more stress on myself than I need to put on myself. In the moments of me feeling like anxious or feeling stressed, I'm going to acknowledge my feelings, I'm going to validate myself, but I'm also going to emotionally regulate myself and just have the mindset of everything is worked out already. I may not see it in my 3D reality yet, but everything has worked out. And when I'm operating from that mindset, it allows me to pour into other areas of my life is also without feeling like I need to just hyper focus on the problem. Because when you're just hyper focusing on the problem, I feel like that's what manifests the problem. You know, when they say like where your attention goes, your energy flows. So if you're thinking from a space of lack, a space of scarcity, and you're just feeling like nothing is going to work out, your mind is not clear enough in order to create a plan in order for you to move forward. If anything, it keeps you stagnant a little bit, honestly. And I'm not saying, there are times where those moments of stagnancy are necessary, because it helps you then really sit in the stink in order for you to realize like, okay, it's stink over here, let me go somewhere else. It puts that fire under you to keep going forward. But I'm expressing to you, if you don't have to sit in the stink, don't sit in the stink, you know? Like, if you can regulate yourself, acknowledge how you're feeling, but then also talk to yourself and tell yourself like, okay, things are going to work out. You have to validate yourself. You have to reassure yourself that things are going to work out, and things will work out. Listen, one thing about it, I'm very logical, but I'm also very delusional. Not in a dumb way, in a very realistic way, because I truly do believe in energy. Like, what you put your energy towards is what is going to manifest. If I say something is going to work out, something is going to work out. And you just have to really get to a place where you believe that things are going to work out in order for, you know, like life to get better. And listen, if you believe in God, like I said, I believe in fairy tales, I believe in miracles, I believe in God. And if you believe in God, like you say you believe in God, you know that things will always turn around for the better. Things will work out for you. Just, you have to be patient, you have to push through. And yeah, like, you just have to know that you got it. Like, you may not see it in your 3D reality yet, you may not see it right now, but just know that things are going to work out for you always. And sometimes things may not work out the way that you plan. Sometimes it will work out the way that God has planned. But listen, what you may want, God has something way better for you. So just ride the wave and just be positive, be optimistic. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to feel anxious. My camera just died, so I'm just gonna end this video here because I don't have enough storage on my phone. I'm just struggling, y'all. But yeah, I hope y'all really enjoyed this video and I hope it was really helpful. I really hope we could have more talks like these because I think it is really beneficial for just a self-development, self-growth journey. And you know, like, life is not always going to be like peaches and cream, but learning how to maneuver through the downsides of life is really what makes life so meaningful. And I'm not even just saying that just to say it. Like, as much as we care about the end goal, like, the process is truly the most fulfilling part. So I feel like, why not learn to enjoy the process in the best way possible?